Live from Washington, D.C., you are in the War Room. It is Friday, the 4th of December, the year of our Lord 2020, going into a very intense weekend with the President of the United States going to go to Georgia. We're going to get into all of it, but we have breaking news at the top of the show. We got Greg Manz from the War Room. Greg, Pennsylvania, a few minutes ago, the House under Speaker Cutler just sent a letter to the congressional delegation. Tell us what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. Speaker Cutler and Majority Leader Bannon have sent a letter to the congressional delegation telling them that they should reject the results of the presidential election in Pennsylvania. And this goes to the point that Mo Brooks was making on the show yesterday, that in the House, they can take a stand and reject these results going forward.
But this is stunning. I mean, they had the opportunity to call a special session to do, to pass this resolution, do all these things they could have done last weekend. They didn't do them. They said they didn't have the momentum. You said that, they didn't really have a majority of their conference. Yet they come out with, this is kind of a blockbuster to say we are calling on the congressional delegation to object to the the seating of the electors from Pennsylvania, which we already know right now, at least as it stands now, are going to be Biden phony delegates, right? So isn't this pretty stunning to have this letter just drop on the Friday? We got 10 days to go, 11 days to go before this thing starts to blow, 10 days ago before this thing starts to blow up. Isn't this letter pretty explosive?
Yeah, it's a huge development. And in my estimation, in my political calculus, and knowing Pennsylvania, they are trying to take the heat off of themselves for their inaction, and now pushing it on to the federal level with the congressman being able to forward and giving their stamp of approval. But it is definitely taking the heat off of them.
Okay, we're going to come back tomorrow morning and get you back on to go through details. There's also breaking news out of Pennsylvania. I believe as soon as we started the show, a major lawsuit's being filed representing Pennsylvania voters and other plaintiffs. And I believe that the truck driver with the missing trailer, the tractor trailer, the missing trailer that's got between 188,000 and 144,000 and 288,000 ballots is one of the plaintiffs. We're going to try to get the lawyer for representing these plaintiffs, this major lawsuit that just dropped in Commonwealth Court in Pennsylvania. Greg Manz, thank you very much. Look forward to having you on tomorrow morning as we talk this through. Big developments in Pennsylvania. We're going to have the lawyer on at the bottom of the hour. Want to now turn, if we've got Boris, if we have Boris Epshteyn on from the campaign, we're going to try to get
Boris here.
Hey, Boris. So, Boris, please explain to me what's going on. And we wanted you to talk about Arizona, Nevada, some other hot spots that are happening today and blowing up. But then all of a sudden, right before we came on air, Pennsylvania. Why is the Speaker of the House, after kind of punting last week when they had an opportunity, now sends a bombshell letter saying we are telling the congressional delegation that essentially they have to object to the seating of the electors that are put forward by the governor and the Secretary of State?
Well, what seems to be happening, the positive is that they're making their voice heard. The negative is that it appears to be that they're punting a little bit to the congressional delegation. So instead of calling themselves into session and ensuring that the legal vote in Pennsylvania is counted and that the electors are set pursuant to that legal vote, what they're doing is saying, well, the congressional delegation needs to decide. Interestingly, in Pennsylvania, the congressional delegation is split 9-9, Republicans to Democrats. That's why you have that 26-23 number. But that's current. What happens when all the new members of Congress are seated after January 3rd remains to be seen. So that's what's going on in Pennsylvania. It is a statement about what happened, but unfortunately, it is not the harsh action, the strong action that we wanted to see out of the Pennsylvania legislature.
I know you may not be aware, but there's also another lawsuit by individual plaintiffs that has just been filed in Commonwealth Court in Pennsylvania. Right when we came on the show, we're going to try to have the lawyer on there. But one of the plaintiffs represented is the truck driver that Phil Klein brought forward. The Amistad Project of the Thomas More Society found this truck driver who seemed to have a pretty credible story about how his trailer got lifted that had between 144,000 and 288,000 ballots that he said he took from Bethpage, New York, into Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and other places in Pennsylvania. I mean, what do you think? Suits that are filed this late, because we're now down to the last week, 10 days, at least to the 14th. Obviously, we're going to go all the way. This could go all the way to the night before the inauguration. What do you know about this, or what about suits that are getting dropped right now?
Well, the clear issue of it is this: that the December 14th date is true and real, but there's also a date in December 23rd, which what the appropriate legislation says, and that's tethered to the Constitution, is that if the electors are not received by December 23rd in Congress, there's actually no penalty to it. So while they're supposed to be sent on midnight 13 into 14, there's also mention of this date of the 23rd, and actually Ruth Bader Ginsburg wrote about that in her dissent in Bush v. Gore, saying, well, that these dates are actually not set in stone. That while they are there, there's no actual penalty. There's no so what there. So the process continues. The legal process continues. Under the Constitution, Americans have a right to be heard, have a right to legal representation, and have a right to vote for president.
Now, you guys have been fighting on many fronts at state legislatures and in the courts. Let's go down. The president's traveling to Georgia tomorrow for a rally for Kelly Loeffler and Senator Perdue. Trafalgar just came out with a poll. The Trafalgar poll kind of dovetails the poll we talked about this morning. It had Kelly Loeffler, I think, down 5.7 points. She was down, I think, 8 on this other poll that was not Trafalgar. It essentially has Perdue in Ossoff in a dead heat. There's a ton of discussion down there about the president's supporters want to get focused on this, and there's been so much explosive news coming out of Georgia since yesterday, since the hearing. What's the latest state of play there? I mean, the governor's come out and said, hey, I really want the Secretary of State to have the signature audit, but he kind of did it in a very, meek way. He did not. He said, quote unquote, they had a family emergency, and hey, maybe it was a family emergency, but he did not greet the vice president today. So what is going on down there? That's one you need. These Pennsylvania punted on the special sessions. Now they're telling the congressional delegation to deal with it. You need a special session in Georgia. You need a special session in Arizona. So what is going on in Georgia?
What's going on in Georgia is that the mayor finally has made a little bit of a move there. But as you said, the recount with signature matching is not yet ensured, and it needs to be. So even though the mayor election now, it's incumbent upon the people of Georgia to press on their elected officials, to press on the Secretary of State to do that signature matching, which is absolutely still possible in the state of Georgia. So that's where Georgia stands. Obviously, after the bombshell video yesterday, and I believe there's more information coming, it is clear that the state of Georgia is an absolute mess in terms of election fraud and election irregularities. And there's no way that the election in Georgia, that the electors in Georgia should be certified until and after this recount with signature matching. And now you even have the governor, who's been pretty much on the sidelines on this thing, coming out in favor of that. So do not see and do not know how the Secretary of State and how the state legislature can get away without enforcing the need for that recount with signature matching.
One thing, the audience, just to clarify, and we've played it now, I think 3 times, and I've seen all kind of tweets that lay it out. It's so powerful. But yesterday, I think Smith, Mr. Smith is the name of your lead counsel. He got up and walked through all the voting of illegal aliens, the voting of people under 17 years old, the people voted from post office boxes, the people that voted out of state, had multiple state registrations. I mean, when you went down, people that had felonies, when you went down that list, I don't know, I thought it was close to 100,000 illegal votes. What is going on? You got the signature match, but why can't those be addressed immediately? If he's laying it out and you guys have the proof, where are we? Because Georgia's 12,000 votes, and you've got, I think, Bernie Carrick said today 4 times. I counted 6 times, but if it's 3 times, why are you guys, or are you pursuing that in addition to the signature match on the ballots?
The answer is absolutely yes. Pursuing it through all appropriate channels, which includes legal and legislative. And again, as I continue to always say, I don't want to get ahead of any news. What I will say is that your viewers, your listeners, our MAGA people who are putting their heart and soul into this need to be confident and can rest assured that this team, the Trump legal team, under the leadership of Mayor Giuliani and the ultimate leadership of President Trump, will do everything it can across all of these states to ensure that only the legal votes are counted and that those are the ones used to determine who won this election.
Is enough pressure being put on authorities in Georgia or people in Georgia to understand that, hey, the MAGA movement understands the importance of keeping the Senate. The MAGA movement understands the importance of turning out en masse on January 5th. But as long as in the special session, they're talking about, decertifying the electors and getting to the bottom of what the violations were, so only legal votes count. The second is to get rid of this consent with Stacey Abrams so you can't go through the same fiasco on January 5th. Has there been any pressure put on? Because the MAGA people want to come out, but they want to see a full commitment by elected Georgia officials. Now you have state senators coming out saying, hey, we have to have a special session. They want to see a full commitment before they engage in part two. They consider that part two. This is part one, and it's unfinished business. So where do we stand in that? Because I think there's confusion in MAGA world.
Well, let me be clear. First of all, yes, it is vital for us to keep the Senate. So it's vital for Senator Loeffler, Senator Perdue to win, period. Full stop. Next, it is absolutely incumbent upon the MAGA people, the conservative movement, and all Americans to ensure that Democrats are forced to stop stealing elections. And that is, I am saying absolutely everybody needs to come out in huge numbers and vote for Loeffler and Perdue. In addition, we need to be coming out as a whole team, as a whole movement, to ensure that elections are not stolen, because that is going beyond these two Senate seats. That goes for every election member of every state house, state senate, federal house, federal senate, and the presidency and the governors. That goes for every single election all the way down to county clerk. Democrats in this country are known to have been stealing elections for decades, maybe longer, maybe centuries. Okay, think back to the 1800s and all the wrongdoing there and all the election chicanery, Tammany Hall, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so if we as Republicans continue to put our head in the sand as we've done in the past, not this year, but if Republicans put their head in the sand on election fraud, on election irregularities, we will lose all the elections going forward. Forget just 2 Senate seats in Georgia. How are we ever going to win if we allow Democrats to bring along suitcases full of ballots and steal elections? We're never going to win if we allow that. So we, as a movement, the MAGA movement, the Trump movement, need to stand tall, need to reelect Loeffler and Perdue, while also standing strong, standing tall, and fighting back against election fraud that's being conducted and perpetrated against the American people by the Democrats.
Boris, if you could just hang on, we'll take a short commercial break. We've got some other states to talk to, to ask you about on the battle map. Programming note, we got Jack Maxey on special assignment. Jack is doing a fundamental and deep analysis on some of the math we're going to lay out, hopefully tomorrow, if not by Monday. Also, we can't give you the name right now. It's going to be another presentation about the statistics about this steal on Monday. So more evidence comes forward at every minute as more people come forward. We're going to take a short commercial break. Return with the campaign's lawyer, Boris Epshteyn, and the lawyer from Pennsylvania talks about this new suit. All next on War and Pandemic.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Well, just to bring Boris Epshteyn on to talk about Arizona, there's breaking news out of Phoenix, the state capital. Senate President Karen Fahn and Speaker of the House Rusty Bowers, who have not exactly been supporters of this effort to date, said today, called for an independent audit of Dominion software and equipment used in Maricopa County in the 2020 general election, and that should take place immediately. I think you're seeing now as the spotlight gets turned on people, all of a sudden they want action, action, action. So I don't want to oversell this, Boris, but at least this is movement. You know, that Dominion system in Maricopa has been a problem, and people have tried to avoid it. With 11 hours of testimony, you had Colonel Philip Waldron, you had specialists in there going through Dominion, And you're seeing around the country, people in Georgia, they're making an effort down there to seize the machines. In Michigan, they're trying to seize the machines. In Pennsylvania, they're talking about seizing some of these machines. In Arizona, we've had two people who have not been supportive. They did not allow the House to be used for this hearing on Monday. But I think after they saw the national exposure it got, and particularly the questions, they're feeling the heat. And they just called for Rusty Bowers and the Senate President Karen Fahn just called for an immediate investigation of the Dominion voting system in Maricopa County. And Boris, I don't need to tell you because you were out there for weeks. Maricopa County stinks to high heaven about what happened there.
It's a total mess. It's a total mess in Maricopa. And I'm hearing, again, these allegations that every electronically adjudicated ballot, every duplicate ballot, which means a reconstructed ballot, when they were first coming out, were coming out with automatic Biden votes and then had to be manually switched to Trump. Again, these are allegations that we have, but there's an affidavit as to that effect. So the point is that there's only one county in Arizona which used Dominion systems. Do you know which county it is?
Maricopa.
It's Maricopa. Maricopa accounts for about 65 to 70% of all votes in Arizona, and the president is only down by 10,300 votes, about 10,300 votes in Arizona, and from what I understand, there's about 200,000 or more just electronically adjudicated ballots in Arizona, and there's only about there's 27,000 duplicate ballots in just Maricopa. So we've got to get to the bottom of this, and I commend Karen Fahn, I commend Rusty Bowers for taking this action, and let's hope that they move fast. And this isn't one of these, we'll look into it next year. We have to look at this now. And there's also other breaking news, Steve, that I previewed in the last segment. An election contest has been filed in the state of Georgia by the Trump campaign. Attorney Ray Smith, who you mentioned, is the one who filed it, again alleging that tens of thousands of illegal votes were cast in the state of Georgia.
This is hitting on all fronts. I think also, and I want to thank the audience. We had Mark Fincham. The reason I started the show in Arizona today, one falls, they all fall. And Arizona is right on the cusp. Remember, it's only 10,000 votes, and you've got pockets from Pima County to Maricopa County to the tribal areas to Yuma County. I mean, there's a lot of people coming forward. One of the things is courage is contagious, and you're seeing powers of these hearings. You saw this in Georgia yesterday. As people see the evidence come out, they're sitting there going, hey, I saw something, or I know something, or something was not right in my district, and now I have the courage to come forward. And so we had Fincham on to start the show today from Arizona. Next thing you know, the pressure's being put on, and he told me one of the reasons he wanted to come on the show is that the heat is being turned up on these election officials. In the old days, they just say, hey, that's the way it is. You're going to have to suck on it. That's not the way it is anymore. The power of social media, the power of the MAGA movement, people understand that you are the voting base of the Republican Party, and they don't want to feel your wrath. And what you're asking for is no special deals. All you want to do is get the facts on the table and have the legal votes count and the not legal votes not count. And if Biden wins with legal votes, then Biden wins. The president will concede and will move on as loyal opposition. But, hey, not to be stolen like this with counting all votes. All votes are not legal votes, and they should not be counted. And now you're seeing in Arizona people growing spines. And I think people are starting to grow spines in Pennsylvania or understand they're under real scrutiny and things have to happen. Let's go to Georgia. I just want to make sure on this thing with Smith, because that litany of what you had was so powerful. You filed again today a new update to the suit to actually deal with some of these specifics. I tell you, Boris, those are winners. I mean, right there is enough to tip Georgia.
Absolutely. President Trump and the Trump campaign have been joined by David Schaefer, who's the chairman of the Georgia GOP, Georgia Republican Party, and a Trump presidential elector. And this election contest is requiring that the election be rendered null and void and ask the court to vacate and enjoin any certification of the election. So that is what's going on in Georgia. Strong stand in the state of Georgia by the president, his campaign, and the legal team. Very strong, and again, standing for what we talked about, for election integrity. And that stand is going to continue in Georgia, yes, in Pennsylvania, through the legal channels that are available there, in Michigan, in Wisconsin, in Arizona, and Nevada. All across the country, we continue to stand strong for election integrity. And as we've talked about, if I'm Joe Biden, why wouldn't I want to be, if he believes he won, shouldn't he want to be considered a legitimate president and not a president who won through some weird shenanigans and chicanery as it is now? Let's be honest. The American people, and I bet you, including a huge number of Democrats, look at old, decrepit, frankly, strange Joe Biden and think there's no way that guy got 80 million votes.
It's impossible.
Right now, he's a joke.
It's impossible.
That's what he is. So Joe Biden and Kamala Harris should join in this effort. Of course, we know they won't because Democrats like to steal elections. But if they had an ounce of honesty, an ounce of care for this republic, they would do so.
Well, it's the only way to unite the country. The only way you unite the country is have the Democrats step up and want to get to the bottom of this. If you get to the bottom of this, you'll unite the country. Otherwise, the country is going to be bitterly divided. If at the end, when we are successful in overturning this, the Democrats are going to be bitter, right? And what the Democratic Party should do is come together right now. Let's get to the bottom of this. Before I let you go, Boris, I got to ask about any other updates, but particularly Nevada. I don't think that we came on air. I don't think that the judge had ruled yet. He was supposed to rule this morning. Of course, arguments were made late. So can you get us up to speed on Nevada? Because Nevada's another one. It hasn't gotten the attention, like Arizona, of some of these other states because the states are back east or they're bigger. And I know you went out there for a couple of weeks, but we got Brian Kennedy in Nevada. They got Matt Schlapp out there. I think Rick Grinnell's out there. Adam Laxalt. And you got this Jesse Bunnell, who was the wingman for Powell on the Mike Flynn case, and he's a hammer. His arguments yesterday were fantastic. This is a real case. I mean, this is once again just like Smith's mantra, just like his litany of going through, people out of state voting, people that are dead voting, people that are underage voting, people that voted multiple times, people that are illegal aliens. I mean, boom, boom, boom. When you add it up, it's like 2x. These are winners. So what's the latest? I don't know if the judge has ruled yet or not, but what's the latest coming out of Nevada, and what's your perspective of how Nevada looks for us?
From what I understand, the judge has not ruled, but you're right. Just people voting twice is over 40,000 in Nevada. Add the dead people voting, add underage people voting, add people voting who are not actual Nevada residents. So Nevada is another place with a huge array of election fraud, election irregularity undertaken, and most of it in Clark County, which is where Las Vegas is. So most of it undertaken by the big cities, the big locations in Nevada, which we know the Democrats control. So Nevada is another place where the Trump campaign, under the leadership of this president, are taking a stand and no longer saying, well, that's life. Like, Chicago in 1960, that's life. Texas in 1960, that's life. We're not just giving it away because the American people deserve a voice. The American people choose their presidents. And the American people deserve to have their legal votes counted, and that's what we're standing for.
Boris, you guys have been working 20 hours a day, 7 days a week. We're going into a weekend. We've got, 14 days or 10 days until the 14th, which we now know from you and others is not sacrosanct. This thing could go all the way to December, could go to Christmas. It looks like it's going to go, as we've been saying, into the House in January. But for this weekend, as you sit there as one of the strategists working next to Rudy Giuliani and Jenna Ellis, what should the audience be looking for? Because our audience is 24/7 on this. They're on Twitter. They're looking for breaking news. They're on all the networks. They're flipping between Newsmax, One America, going to the War Room site, to all the different sites. What should people be looking for the news you think will break this weekend?
Look for more action in Wisconsin, where the Supreme Court of Wisconsin gave a roadmap to how we ensure that only the legal votes in Wisconsin are counted. Look for more action in Georgia, more in Arizona. Michigan is going to continue to be a major battleground. Look at Pennsylvania. Obviously, a multitude of suits have been filed there, and there's more action to come there on a lot of fronts. As we just talked about in Nevada, and I know for a fact Arizona is going to have action as well. So continue to follow the news, get it from the right sources that Steve just talked about. Don't believe the fake mainstream media, because what they may say to you is a loss, like they look at the Wisconsin Supreme Court decision and say, oh, that's bad. Actually, it was good. It was a positive decision that gave a roadmap. So do not be discouraged. Stay positive, stay optimistic, stay loud, stay engaged, and let's ensure that all of your elected officials, all those who represent you, fight for legal votes for election integrity in this country. That's what you need to do. And do not take a break over the weekend. Maybe have some coffee, have a little brunch, and let's rock and roll in this thing.
How do we get you on Instagram, Boris, and other social media?
the gram, which is so vitally important, Boris _ Epshteyn, Boris _ EPSHTEYN, Twitter, where I'm hitting it all every day. I'm putting out information at Boris EP, and Parler, the one and only, at Boris. Boris _ Epshteyn on Instagram, at Boris EP on Twitter, at Boris on Parler. Steve, God bless you and all your listeners. Absolute warriors. Thank you so much.
Boris, thanks for coming on. Good luck with you and the mayor and Jenna and the team this week, and Bernie Carrick. I want to say one thing. Some of the biggest developments you're seeing is because elected officials understand you're just not going to sit there and take this. You want this to be adjudicated, and you want accountability. You do not want one vote that's not legal to count, but you want all legal votes to be counted. Okay, we're going to go to Georgia and John Fredericks. We've also got the lawyer that's just filed the suit in Pennsylvania, and we have Raheem Kassam all in the next half hour. We're going to take a short commercial break. We'll be back in a moment in the War Room.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Okay, I want to go to Georgia now. We're going to go back to Nevada. We're going to try to get Boris back or talk to some guys in Nevada. Breaking news out of there in court. I want to turn to Georgia and get the latest from John Fredericks. John, look, there's so much going on today. First off, I got to ask you about the Sterling guy. He goes on, I think it was Newsmax at 7 o'clock in the morning, and says, oh, this thing's debunked. These are cutters. The cutters are supposed to leave. It wasn't tied to taking people out for the water main breaking. These other people, they can have suitcase. Those boxes were all empty. I mean, it was one excuse after the other. I think Gateway Pundit did a great job of putting it up and walking people through it, deconstructing it. What is going on with these election officials down there? I mean, to me, it seemed pretty obvious what went on. What do you think of Sterling? And what do people, particularly citizens of Georgia, think of Sterling's excuse?
Well, those are weasel words. It's double talk. They're protecting themselves. They know they have something to hide. Gabriel Sterling says, and by the way, Gabe is the Georgia's voting implementation manager. He used to be a councilman in Sandy Springs, Georgia, which is south of just north of Atlanta. He said it's standard operating procedure. Really, Gabe? It's standing operating procedure to throw out all your poll watchers, Republicans, throw out the media at 10:30, turn the lights out, shut the curtains, put plywood up, and then go grab ballots in the secret in the dark under a desk and run them through a machine. What kind of standard operating procedure is that, Gabe? I mean, they think they can just say this stuff and get away with it because they have the protection of the fake news media. So they could just go out there and say it, and it is. Here's the deal. In a press release that the Senator Brandon Beach, this guy, I don't know where this guy came from, but it's like he's all over everything. He immediately puts a press release out that says, and let me read it. He says, our Judiciary Committee, a legal binding committee elected by the people, accepted that video as testimony. And he said, only our committee can ultimately determine if the video is valid, authentic, and it shows potential fraud. He said any other determination is without validity and has no standing, and quite frankly, is a waste of our time. That's a state senator there.
Wow.
We're taking this stuff seriously.
Wow.
You can. They think they can get on the fake news. Now, of course, they went on Newsmax. That's a little bit different. But then they just think they can get in the media, and they can just sweep this under the carpet, and they think people are stupid. Steve, the game's over. People have had it. They want to get answers to this, and it's not going away. We've also got the voting machine now in Ware County that there's a movement underfoot right now to get that impounded. The judge's ruling that we have earlier last week says that you can't wipe any of these clean. They can't wait to wipe these machines clean. Why? Now they're saying, oh, it's going to jeopardize the election on January 5th. I got an idea. Why don't you put the election off until you can be sure there's going to be no fraud in it, which is what a handful of Republicans have been saying from the beginning. But I'll tell you the other thing, Steve, is this is the same playbook. in all of these cities, right? A water main breaks, a pipe goes out, the heat goes out, there's something goes on. It's the same playbook in Atlanta, in Philadelphia, in Pittsburgh, in Las Vegas. Every big city has the same playbook. It's certainly an amazing set of coincidences where pipes break, bathrooms flood, heat goes out, all on election night. Go figure, right?
And you got to empty the room. You got to empty the room, right? Particularly Republicans. I mean, it's so obvious. Well, here's what I don't understand. Why is the state of Georgia? Why do you have to go through this big, go to court to impound these machines? The state of Georgia argues, and you saw it in Nevada. They're arguing. The state is arguing about the proprietary software of their vendor. It's just a vendor. It's a vendor, right? It's a vendor. Yeah, vendors are important, but they're contractors. Okay, in the contract, you've got to be able to see if something went wrong or not. The state of Georgia, the reason it's taking forever is they're defending the intellectual property of smart tech and Dominion voting systems. It's outrageous. If I was a citizen of Georgia, I would go absolutely ballistic over these guys defending and have to go through this whole process that takes days and days and days to try to impound these machines. What do people think down there, John?
Well, their tax dollars are being used against them. That's what they think. Their money is being spent against the people. It's an incredible set of circumstances that going on here. The state of Georgia is spending resources defending big corporations accused of fraudulent behavior in direct opposition to the people of Georgia that are asking that their vote count and be worth something. I've never seen it flip like this, and so that's why there's anger and outrage here. Now, tomorrow, big day, Steve. Tomorrow's a big day, because that's when President goes back on the campaign trail. He's coming to Valdosta, Georgia, which is South Georgia, and that's where the Trump voters are. And he's coming there, and on the stage with him is going to be David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler. They're going to be right there. And he's ostensibly coming to campaign for them on January 5th. They have been AWOL. They will not talk about any of the fraud, the video. They don't want to talk about it. They just make believe it's not there. All they want to focus on is their race on the 5th so they can, I guess, put their coalition together, whatever they think that is, right, which is crumbling right now because Trump voters are reluctant to go back and vote in another fraudulent system. During that rally, you can bet your bottom line that President Trump is going to outline all of this corruption, allegedly, all of the voter alleged fraud in Georgia, including the video, including the machine in Ware County, including the state trying to wipe them clean with Loeffler and Perdue there. They can no longer hide from this. They're going to have to get involved in it on Saturday, one way or the other, or they're going to look ridiculous. So the president is forcing their hand, and we still have no response from Governor Kemp, which I doubt he's going to be there, as to whether or not there's going to be a special session. Now we've got senators saying to me, well, we were going to sign on to this press release, but we're having a meeting in Athens for 2 days, Monday and Tuesday. We're going to talk about it there. We'll make a decision on Wednesday. Wednesday? Are you kidding me? Wednesday? This is why so many people are angry. Group of state senators, again, trying to put this off. They just want it to go away. It's not going away because the people of Georgia demand answers, and we're not going to stop until we have them, Steve.
A programming note, John Fredericks Radio Network. John Fredericks will be there live covering the president's rally tomorrow for Perdue and Loeffler, and also Real America's Voice will be covering it live from start to finish. I think it starts at 7 o'clock. So Real America's Voice and the John Fredericks Radio Network will both be covering it. Kemp today was a no-show for the vice president. I understand it's a family emergency. I'm sure something happened, but that struck me as odd. Is he even invited? I can't get a straight answer. Is he invited to this rally tomorrow? Do you know?
Yes, he's invited. All the key Republican elected officials are invited. The fact, if he doesn't show up, I mean, he can make whatever excuses he wants. But if he doesn't show up to this rally, you know what? It's going to send a huge message that he's basically abandoned the whole effort that has to do with the president. And you know what, Steve? There would be no Governor Brian Kemp without Donald J. Trump going out on a limb and endorsing him in a heated primary over Casey Cagle, he was the underdog. So it's I don't know what they're hiding. I don't know what they're afraid of. But this is not a time for weasel words, faint of heart, skipping out, not showing up, avoiding questions. We're in a time, Steve, we're at the epicenter right now. This is a watershed moment in America. And everybody is going to remember who stood up to fight and who stood down and ran away. Right now, Governor Kemp running away.
No, fortune favors boldness. Trafalgar Group, which is a kind of a MAGA pollster, came out and had Loeffler down, I think, 7 tonight in a poll, and Perdue in a dead heat. That dovetails. I think there was a poll out this morning by a group that had Loeffler down, 5 to 7, and essentially Perdue down 2, and so essentially a dead heat. But it shows you if they want to have a massive victory, the massive victory comes for standing with President Trump and the citizens who want this now. And key to that is getting rid of this consent decree and not playing by the rules that Stacey Abrams and Kemp and the Secretary of State agreed to under the darkness of night. The state senators, you're the first one to bring it up to them. This Lynn Wood suit caught everybody surprised, but because the state senators, I listened to your show, they've never heard of this thing. And if we're playing by the same rules, you're going to get crushed. Just like we got beat by 12,000 votes when they steal it all, and then they have this illegal mail-in ballots, right? And ballots from all over the country. You're not going to win as long as they've got that consent decree. That thing has got to go.
Steve, it's very simple here. The bottom line is, if there's no action, the Trump voters in Georgia, which are key to this victory, have no motivation to go out and vote, and you're going to lose 15 to 20% of them. I just got to tell you this, Steve. I've been telling you this on War Room and MI show for 3 weeks since I've been here. The first 3 days I got here, the first time I got on from Georgia, I said, hey, I'm talking to rural voters. 15 to 20% of every group I talk to is so mad they're not turning out because they think their vote is going to be stolen. I mean, we don't make this stuff up. This was 3 weeks ago. They've had 3 weeks to fix this. They've not done it, and now they're shocked when they get a poll out by Trafalgar that has Loeffler down by 7 to Warnock, who's a socialist. They're shocked by it. Well, we told them that 3 weeks ago. Unbelievable. What they need to do, action, action, action. These Trump voters have to see these politicians get together and do something, and what the something is a special session and get rid of that consent decree so that you have to put your signature on your mail-in ballot, and that's got to be verified. If they do that, you're going to have a win. You're going to get the Trump voters out. They can turn the corner, and they can win this election. If they do what the one state senator just told me on the phone, which was, well, we're not really together on this, and we're going to have a meeting in Athens for 2 days, Monday and Tuesday. We're going to talk about it there, and, probably get together and have it on Wednesday. Wednesday? You've got to be kidding me. Time is, there's no sense of urgency, so I don't know what they expect is going to happen.
John, tell us about tomorrow. What time does your broadcast start? How can people get to it? How do they get to you on social media?
Okay, what you want to do tomorrow, you want to follow us on Facebook. Just go to facebook.com, John Fredericks Show. Follow us. You're going to get it there. We're going to be on the air starting at 6 a.m. with Real America's Voice. By the way, Real America's Voice, as you know,
6 p.m.
6 p.m.
Yeah,
we're going to be live at 6. You can download their app, and we've got people there on the ground. I'm part of the team, so we're excited about that. But we're going to have a live coverage starting at 6 p.m. You absolutely do not want to miss that. This is going to be an epic game changer rally because Perdue and Loeffler have nowhere to hide.
Yeah, no, this will be pure Trump. John, thank you so much for joining us, taking time away on Friday. Look forward to following you tomorrow.
Thank you, Steve.
In Valdosta, Georgia. Remember, John Fredericks doing 10 cities in 10 days, Trump country down in Georgia, a bus tour where he's hearing what Trump voters want to see. And tomorrow night, I tell you, it's going to be classic. It's going to be classic Trump. We're going to take a short commercial break. Raheem, Kassam, will join us next about a new effort to kind of form a new board at Facebook. Okay, take a short commercial break. Be back with Raheem in a moment.
War Room Pandemic with Stephen K. Bannon.
The epidemic is a demon, and we cannot let this demon hide.
War Room Pandemic. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Welcome back to the War Room. I want to go to Raheem Kassam immediately. In the picture, I don't know if we've got the picture. It looks like Dickens' Christmas. Back by popular demand, Raheem, because of the warm, Christmassy nature of your living room. So welcome back. We got some important business to talk to about Facebook, some new activities going on, also Brexit. But first, I want to ask you, Madeline Peltz tweeted out something today. She's looking after my health. I want to thank Madeline. I'm doing great. Everything's fantastic. But she referred to you in your morning shot, which I thought was the best shot you ever had, as some minion. Madeline is the head of our marketing department and does a fantastic job of making the show even bigger. Why is she referring to you as a minion? You're one of the stars of the show.
I think it's envy. It's pure envy. Madeline definitely and desperately wants a spot in the War Room. And honestly, I'm happy to hand it over. Madeline, we've told you once, we'll tell you a million times. Anytime you want to come in, Steve would happily have you over any of the rest of us, all of the rest of us put together.
No, we'd love to have Madeline in. We open invitation to come on anytime she wants. She does a great job of covering us. I wish the guys in the War Room did such a great job. But to refer to you as a minion, I'm gonna bring that up during bonus season. So be prepared. To serious news. First, on the Facebook thing. What's your assessment? That's what's going on today. On the battlefield, we did get, and we'll be able to give you more details tomorrow. In the judge at the district level dismissed the case that the Trump people brought. Obviously, we just heard that they're going to refile and appeal this, but we'll get more details. And we'll have that on tomorrow morning. What is your sense on the day before this big rally that President Trump's going to go down there with Loeffler and Perdue? What do you think? Give us your assessment of how we stand on Friday.
Look, here's what people need to realize, especially with Mark Elias and all those democracy docket people constantly tweeting, the president's lost the majority of the cases that have been brought. Yeah, look, on an election, like this, especially with elections, you actually don't go into legal cases thinking you're going to win outright, as you bring the first case. That's never the case. It's going to take time. You're going to have to grind it out. You're going to have to refile. You might be sent to a different court, lower court, higher court. You might find out different things along the way. That's why I said what I said this morning, which is actually, with elections in particular, legal fights take a lot longer, and therefore it'll be interesting to get like a provisional timeline together. And I know a lot of the audience is interested in seeing what something like that would look like as well. Say, hey, in different countries, in different Western countries, when you've had to go through the courts for the mail-in ballots especially, here's how long it's typically taken. And then, ask the courts to say, hey, it's time to do your own Operation Warp Speed, right? America can be the best at getting, a vaccine for the virus, can also be the best at getting a vaccine for election fraud, in the form of having some level of restitution for the Trump campaign, and that's
Raheem. We got some breaking news. The lawyer Thomas King III is joining us right now from Pennsylvania. They just filed a massive lawsuit representing plaintiffs. Citizens of Pennsylvania, including this truck driver. Can you tell us quickly, Thomas, because we're running out of time on the show, what is the suit and why did you bring it today?
Yeah, hi, Steve. We're thanks for having me on. We are affiliated with the Thomas More Legal Society, and of course, Phil Klein and the Thomas More folks are doing great work in several states, and we're happy to be part of that. The suit that we're as we speak, are filing in Pennsylvania, seeks to mandamus or order Governor Wolf, the governor of Pennsylvania, to retract his certification of the 2020 presidential election in Pennsylvania and to withdraw the certifications issued to the Democratic electors in Pennsylvania because of the massive amount of irregularities, I'm being kind, irregularities in Pennsylvania and also the ongoing investigations into the Jesse Morgan, the truck driver who says that he hauled approximately 200,000, maybe more, ballots from Long Island, New York into Pennsylvania. The whereabouts of those ballots is currently unknown. They're the subject of ongoing investigations, and they would certainly be key to determining whether this election could even be certified in Pennsylvania. So we're filing that in the Commonwealth Court of Pennsylvania electronically as we speak tonight, and it's part of an overall effort to try to get this the Electoral College railroad that's happening, to get it slowed down and or stopped until these investigations that the president is rightfully entitled to in various states determined. Because if the train keeps rolling here and these investigations are open, what in the world would happen if for example, Jesse Morgan is right and these ballots were created by somebody, Bethpage, New York is an hour away from George Soros, right? So I'm not saying George did it, but I wouldn't put it past him.
Thomas, do you have social media? Do you have Twitter, Parler? How do people follow this overnight? We'll have it back on the show tomorrow morning, but how do they follow it right now?
Well, I don't, but the Thomas More Society will certainly put out releases about it. But I'm not a Twitter or Facebook guy.
We know
I particularly don't like Facebook. Mr. Zuckerberg, is the cause of a lot of these problems in Pennsylvania.
Big time.
He poured his money in here. Just terrible.
Thomas, thank you so much for joining us. Look forward to having you on the show tomorrow morning. Raheem, you heard it right there. This is another Zuckerberg situation. Thomas More Society, you've done such a great job of having Phil Klein on the National Pulse. Raheem, we got about a minute. What's your assessment of this latest assault of the Thomas More Society to try to get a correct reading of legal votes in Pennsylvania?
Yeah, it's absolutely the right way to go. And I want to just make very clear to ordinary people out there who think, oh, hey, why didn't we get ahead of this? And I want to remind them we were ahead of this with the Transition Integrity Project. Revolver.news was ahead of it with the Color Revolution stuff. We were ahead of this with Phil Klein and the Amistad Project. We talked about CTCL and the Zuckerberg money before. And I want to bring people's awareness to the lead story on the National Pulse right now. Get aware of what they're now doing. Christopher Steele, Russia Dossier, Carol Cadwalader, the Brexit staff, they're launching a new group based out of the UK, which is determined to censor your speech. They've overtly said they're going to interfere in U.S. politics. It's the lead story, just breaking news.
We're going to bring you back tomorrow morning. We'll be back at 10 a.m. There's going to be a ton of breaking news overnight. We'll get you all up to speed and tee up this really amazing rally that's going to take place in Valdosta, Georgia tomorrow. The fight is on. Remember, hold the line. Under no circumstances can we flinch and allow Biden and the forces of the Democratic Party to steal this election. Until tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, this is the War Room.